Hi, and welcome to another episode of Kuntarkis. My name is Michael Yon, and this episode is Dreams and the Afterlife. So let's begin. Okay, Kuntarkis, when it comes to dreams, imagination, and the inner world, what is the true purpose of dreams in human life?
There are a lot of reasons, Michael. A lot of people experience all different things. Now, if we take dreams, most people believe dreams are simply some form of computer reality where your emotions are playing something out when you go to sleep. So you have a dream. What people don't realize is it depends on the level of your thinking. If your thinking is quite negative, or if you watch a negative movie before you go to bed, or if you have an argument before you go to bed, you will end up having very confusing dream experiences. And there could be like 2 parts, 10 parts to that experience. And it doesn't make any sense. That's because of the negative confusion that you were experiencing through what I just said. That's one of the biggest problems. Dreams in reality are actual happenings. Doesn't matter what level of thinking you are at. They are real because the spirit that is within you projects out when you actually go into a slumber, a deep sleep, and the spirit comes out and it creates those experiences in reality, just like you would experience the physical things in life every single day of your life. That's what the spirit does. The last thing it understood was your argument with your wife or your husband. Or you may have, say, seen a movie that was really amplified in the negativity and it literally put a little bit of fear into you. So the spirit will create that without even knowing it. And that's your dream. And that's the reality.
Wow. And how does imagination shape a person's reality over time?
Very deeply, actually. It depends on, again, one's level of thinking. One of the aspects of life to evolve consciously is to become self aware in your own self realization of life itself. When we start to grow consciously, we start to think differently. And suddenly, out of nowhere, our consciousness has expanded. And we look at the word imagination and we ask ourselves, what does it truly mean? Well, the way we are taught physically from a young child, if you see something and you imagine it, then you can create something that's an illusion within your head. But in reality, imagination is not illusion. It is a form of self-creativeness. When we think beyond the normal human logical brain of ego, we start to be able to transform our visions through imagination. And we start to understand that things can become reality through imagination because it is one of our greatest gifts. We can use it in any form that we wish to create something physically, to create something on, say, paper, like a drawing, or write some music, or write a book, or even create some form of article or some form of invention that would help, say, the prosperity of humanity through our imagination. And then it becomes an actual reality. That's the beauty of imagination. It goes far beyond what we as humans have been taught.
Oh. What is the difference between an ordinary dream and a meaningful spiritual experience?
Okay. What I explained in the first answer is the confusion from a very logical human perspective. And what it means is when we go to bed, we are confused, or we're stressed, or we feel slightly depressed, or our stomach is grumbling because we just had a meal that seems to be upsetting our stomach. So we lay down and we move around, and our body isn't comfortable. Our body doesn't feel balanced. And all we want to do is go into a deep sleep because I need that sleep to wake up tomorrow and feel good. The dream experience that an individual has from feeling that way is confusion, which is not an actual reality of truth in a dream experience. The opposite side of that is when you are consciously aware that when you lay down, you say something like this: I lay my body down to sleep, and I allow my spirit to project out with full conscious awareness so I can venture out and realize that I am out there and that I am having a spiritual experience. So as you lay down to sleep, your spirit comes out. And what your spirit does, it goes into spirit world and it connects. And most of the time, it's a fairly positive experience or experiences. Other times, you may actually stay within the third dimensional vibration, being human in the human world. And you may literally be able to make your body solid. And you can communicate with humans. And they have no idea that in reality you are a spirit. And you can travel all over the world if that's what you wish, because a spirit is only limited by its own form of understanding from the physical body, the physical brain. And that's basically the difference.
Right. And can recurring dreams reveal unfinished emotional or karmic patterns?
100%. Yes, it can. When dreams repeat themselves, they're doing it for a reason. There is a consciousness within the human body as well as the spirit body trying to get that individual to recognize something that they're not completing in their life. And that's why they have an occurrence in their dreams. And that's really important. I've had that many occasions in the past, and I've experienced many things of the same nature, say sometimes slightly different, but similar. And I realize in myself what it is. So when we express something that we need to balance out verbally, and we mean it from the heart, everything comes into balance. And suddenly we don't have that dream again. It's gone. It's finished. And that's the beauty of that dream.
I think you'll like this question. How much control can a person develop inside the dream state?
Okay. At the beginning of your own evolution, as you start to mature into a young teenager, into a young adult, and when you begin to, say, seek a deeper understanding of the meaning of life, your dream state can become a reality through your own thoughts, not just physically, but also from your spirit. And if you say something like, if you're laying down and you say, as I go to sleep and my spirit projects, I'm going to travel directly to the moon. I want to see that massive opening that's well over 300 feet wide. And I want to go down inside that tunnel that's been carved out with a laser. I want to see what's down there. I'm curious. So spirit, when I go to sleep and you come out, please go to the moon and experience this. So when you come back, I can see what it is. If you teach yourself to do things like that, something simple, or you might say, I want to go to the Gold Coast and I want to go to Dreamworld. I haven't been in Dreamworld for 20 years. I just want to see what it's like, and I want to remember the fun. You can elevate the power of your consciousness to actually do that and remember it. You're developing your inner consciousness by being positive in what you seek, and that's important.
Is there a link between creative imagination and healing?
Absolutely, there is. The interesting thing about life, Michael, is we are limited as a physical being, as a physical human body, because we, in the Western world, we aren't given enough information to take us beyond our natural conditioning. When we begin to grow consciously, everything becomes possible. Our imagination can make us evolve consciously. The more we use our imagination in seeing things that we wish to do, we are setting the road to a deeper creativeness. And in the end, that's what we become, or that's what we see. It depends on our limitations, because we set the limitations in our life 100%. You heard the old saying, what you visualize, you create. What you think, you can create by bringing it into manifestation through energy first and eventually the physical realm. It's our choice how we grow consciously.
How do dreams connect to memory, intuition, or future possibilities?
Okay. Dreams can help us evolve consciously in any form. It depends again on the level of our own consciousness. We may be at a certain level of understanding, say just above the third dimension in that vibration. And as we begin to grow consciously in our own evolution, we begin to see things in a very different format. It's like a vision. If you have a vision, don't discard it. If you discard it, what you're saying to yourself, that's an illusion. It's not important. I never, ever have ever discarded a vision in my existence on this planet. I've seen everything as a possibility. That's why when we have a vision, we see it, we think about it, and we say directly into my cellular memory so I can draw on that vision when I choose to. I want to remember it. Thank you. And you will. The other interesting side, Michael, about the cellular memory, every single human on this planet, I think I've said something very similar to what I'm about to say, but every single human individual can lock into their cellular memory, and they can bring forth any knowledge from the past into the present. They can also bring forward their last incarnations, whether it's 100 years ago or 2,000 years ago or 20,000 years ago. It's all within our cellular structure. And we only need to practice through meditation and affirmations and having self-empowerment and believing that we can do anything we choose to because we are beyond the body.
What are the biggest mistakes people make when interpreting their dreams?
Their egos, they go beyond the experience in a lot of situations that I've experienced with other people through consultations. And I've noticed that they've blown up their experience or used their ego in a way where that experience really made no sense. And they've lost control in what they want to express. If we learn to understand that we are capable of understanding our dreams and remembering them, we can bring them forth whenever we choose to. But that choice is always ours. And we need to learn and understand that we are a conscious being beyond the physical learning of the human ego. And that's where most of us go wrong. We live in that human structure. Something I discovered, I want to just say this very briefly, it's a negative, but this is where people won't want to know the truth. And if you say to them, this happened, say it's negative, they look at you and they say, who are you to tell that? But I saw it. I know it's true. I saw something the other day, Michael, that sickened me because I believe what I saw was human body parts in a certain store selling as meat or cow. And it's happening all over the world. Give you an example of something before we go on. Yeah, we have roughly 27 million people living in Australia, roughly. Out of that 27 million, roughly 13 million people are Freemasons to some degree. And every business, every government, every organization, every religion is governed under the Freemasons. Now, how do you get that across to the public? How? Nearly impossible because they don't want to know. So who can you trust? I'm not saying all those Freemasons in Australia alone are pedophiles, rapists, or whoever or whatever, but a very large proportion are. And as I said the other day, there are more pedophiles within our government system than anywhere else in the world in a percentage way. So we have to learn to understand the reality of what truth is. The truth is within us, but the lies and the illusion are placed upon us, whether it's through our parents' genetics or through society. They want us to live, they want us to think a certain way. So we grow up not knowing how to make our own decisions in life. That's what can happen in dreams. We can become so confused in our physical bodies that we don't ever believe that we can make a decision. And that's called self-created fear. And that's really sad.
If someone wants to strengthen imagination responsibly, where should they begin?
The two main places to begin is what I said before, is meditation, a basic meditation, but you have to be true to yourself in that meditation. If you sit and say you learn something, a few words, and you say this with your eyes closed, sitting down with your hands, palms up, just resting on your legs, or sitting in a chair with your back straight. Just take a few deep breaths. Take it in slowly, hold for 4 seconds, and release it. 4 times like that, and then just breathe normally. Then think of something like this. I will now go into my own meditation. I will say these words, and then I will be at peace, and I will be quiet. I am a divine being of light, and I am learning to understand this. I have heard that we are created out of living energy, and we have a spirit within us that vacates at night and travels and experiences all forms of dreams. I now wish to go out of my body and be in a deep trance and experience other forms of life. If you say anything like that, and then you say, I now sit in total peace, total harmony for 5 minutes without saying a word, and I will allow my thoughts to enter and then dissipate, for I am at peace. I am at peace. And just sit for that 5 minutes in total peace, breathing naturally and normal. What you'll discover after a period of time, you want to increase your meditations, and you may start to listen to guided meditations. Find the right ones, the ones who are expressing, especially from the heart, who want to teach you the real reality of what meditation is all about. And meditation is a form of total balance, total harmony, total truth. Then learn to say affirmations. Pick an affirmation that suits you, even if it's only short, by saying, I am pure living energy, formulating into pure living consciousness. Repeat that 3 or 4 or 5 times in a really loving heart way. And at the end of it, say, I now believe in myself because I am growing stronger in every moment of every breath. I have a creative mind and I am connecting with my mind. Every time I sit to meditate, I am thinking of my mind beyond the body, being pure living energy. If you say anything like that in an affirmation or create your own, say it on a regular basis, 3 or 4 times a day, and mean it from your heart. You'll start to really feel that fullness of your own love. And you'll start to venture into areas that you normally never did. You'll start to read books on spirituality, books on meditation, books on universes, all these different things that you really want to know about. And that's basically how your journey begins. The other way is if you come up to someone and you say something like this, I don't believe in anything beyond this world. The person looks at you, smiles, and says, really? Wow. Your limitations are set, aren't they? Your life now is already written, even your future. And this is exactly what you'll be every moment of your life until you take your last breath. Or, if you wish, you can elevate to higher forms of understanding just through your own thoughts. Change your thoughts and you change your thinking. You change your thinking and you change your life. Suddenly that person stops and they say to themselves, oh my God, that really hit home. And that's how your journey can begin also.
Brilliant, brilliant. Now I have some questions about life after death, the soul, and what continues. My first question here is, what actually happens at the moment of death?
It can vary with every single individual. Again, depending on how their life has been. If it's been a positive life, you can literally take your last breath and you can immediately raise up from your physical self. Confused? Yes, but more practical. And you can say, what happens here? Show me. Suddenly, it's like a doorway opened and you step through and you're in spirit world. Other people, they may be very, very stressful, very angry with a lot of hatred. They may, how would you say, scream at people violently. because of their own emotions that they grew up with, and suddenly they take their last breath. And suddenly they open their eyes. They're out of their body, but have a guess where they are? The lower end of the astral world, not the spirit world, because that's where all violent anger goes. Violent anger and hatred normally doesn't go within the spirit realm. Portions of it can, if a person has a bit more sensibility. So it depends on the person. Every single person is different. If you have a mum and a dad, for instance, that's very spiritual, and they've tried to teach you all about the spiritual essence of life, but you've never listened, and you just think to yourself, what a load of rubbish. My parents are silly. They're mad. Suddenly your dad dies, and you're really sad. And you're sad because you didn't listen to him. You actually were very disrespectful. About a year and a half later, you're in a really bad situation in your life. You may have taken up too much alcohol, smoking too much. You may have taken up drugs, and you're with the wrong type of people because you're in that energy of deep negativity. One night you go to bed, and just as you're laying in bed, you're trying to go to sleep, and you notice that there's a really misty light, and you open your eyes, and you see this misty light in front of you at the end of your bed, and you suddenly become very fearful. And before you know it, a spirit appears, and the spirit is your father, standing there with a loving heart and a beautiful smile, saying, I love you, son. This is your wrong path. You should have listened to me. That's why I continue, because I love you so much. You got to give away those people that you hang around. They're bad for you. They're negative for you. This is how you will end up. And if you pass away like this, you'll end up in a lower vibration, and I'll never be able to see you. So please, please, learn to love and give away all this negativity. Suddenly, he's off to sleep, and he might be fortunate enough to be with his father. And the vibration of his father's energies might make him feel really positive. And when he wakes up, he says, I got to move. I got to change my life. I got to go and see my mum and apologize. I've been so wrong, so wrong. And he does. And his life begins to change. That's the positive aspect of existence. The negative aspect was what he was. He was ignorant and rude and disrespectful. And that was the sad part. And that's very current in our life today.
Now, how do you define the difference between soul, spirit, and consciousness?
Consciousness doesn't exist. It is something that you develop as you grow. And as you grow, consciousness begins to form. And consciousness is an elevation of one's own divine. It means you learn to connect to your mind through your imagination, and you can even connect to your soul. Your spirit is the real essence of your life, as I've spoken about many times. If your body dies, there's no more air, there's no more life. The energy that was there has dissipated. The spirit has left and gone within spirit vibration, the lower, the middle, or the higher. And that's the funny part. If we don't grow in consciousness, we don't learn.
I think you just kind of answered my next question. What determines whether a being moves on peacefully or remains confused?
You mean after they've died?
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever you experience in life, physically, from the moment you're born to the moment you take your last breath. If you've had a very negative existence, even though you may have succeeded in many things, your ego has tripled to what it was. And you haven't grown consciously in your own self-awareness. So when you take your last breath, you will be either in the astral world of confusion, of anger, hatred, violence, everything you could possibly think of that's negative. Yet, if you end up, say, at the lower end of the spirit world, you have a much easier way of letting go of all your pain that you self-created and begin to grow and climb the ladder to your own higher understanding. So you can then find the tunnel of light, go through it, rest, create your new existence as a human, and reincarnate. It's always your choice.
Can grief from the living affect those who have passed on?
100%. Yes, they can also keep them in limbo. If you, say, have loved someone so much, or if you were violent towards that certain person, or angry, or whatever, you can hold them from leaving the Earth's third dimensional vibration and going into spirit world. And they go to a place that many know of as called limbo. And you can stay there completely confused, not knowing what to do, until a spirit guide comes to you in that vibration or gets to you because you want that spirit to. You will then maybe leave it and go beyond. But a person who grieves, they can hold you back from an energy level 100%. Because you know the old saying, Michael, energy is everything and everything is energy. And this is something that I believe most people don't fully comprehend. That when I say energy is everything, that is exactly what I mean. The Nakarons who live on the planet Nakaris, so far away from this vibration, I think it's 417,000 light years, they have always believed in that, about energy being everything. And that's how they live their existence. And that's how they create everything from living energy. We, on the other hand, for 928,000 years, we have done nothing but cause massive pain and misery through wars by slaughtering billions of people in that period of time. And the karmic debt is so high, we are finding it very hard in this present moment of 2026 to step beyond it, because we don't even think about it, because we're not taught. Here's something very interesting. The Japanese civilization, going back, let's say anything from 200 to 2,000 years, they have always been quite a spiritual civilization. Also a very loving civilization and a very caring civilization. And they always look after the elderly. They always have herbal remedies throughout that period of time. Since the Second World War, when the bombs were dropped, I think there was 2 bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and I think a couple of other major cities. It killed, I think, millions. But what it also did, it infected millions. And the diseases of that type of formulation from those nuclear weapons have been within their DNA. And each time they go through generation to generation to generation, they pass on the negative aspects of what occurred in the Second World War. Today, in 2026, they are known as the most oldest civilization. And when I say that, what I'm actually saying, they grow much faster in age than any other nation on this planet. And I believe after I heard that, I did my research with Audra. Audra came back to me and said to me, what you said is correct. Because of what happened in the Second World War, all the toxic chemicals were carried through their bodies from generation to generation to generation. And that's why they age so badly, especially when you reach a certain age. They seem to suddenly, over 2 years, age 10 or 15 years. Really bad. So what they're doing now, there are dozens and dozens, or no, I should say hundreds of different people going around to all the age homes or into their people's homes, and they're giving them a certain type of yogurt that's got certain types of chemical structures that are of a positive nature and is helping in a very big way. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. Wow.
That is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
My next question is, what misconceptions do people carry about the afterlife?
What misconceptions?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't believe in afterlife, mate. They really don't believe. And that's the sad part. Other people believe that you do live, but they don't know how. They don't understand the meaning of spirit because there are so many people in the last probably 70, 80 years that have been teaching that the soul basically is the spirit. And when you die, your soul dies and you don't exist anymore. They don't talk about the spirit. They talk about the soul. And that's completely untrue. The soul is your divinity to your existence as facets that are projected by the soul so you can live out different human lives of understanding and grow consciously so far beyond what you are, let go of all your karma and return to the soul, and you become the soul totally in its own divinity. That's the quest.
And there can be multiple spirits from one soul that are living at the same time.
Absolutely. And they're classed as facets, but they are spirits, yes. And sometimes they can be in the same family. Like a little girl can be born, right, as a baby and growing up, and then a boy comes along, and they can be the same facet of that soul, or they can be separate facets of that soul. I know a lady that's 77, and her son, who's he's got to be 50 or 51, somewhere around there, and he is actually a facet of her. So her soul created two facets. So she would have the boy, who is actually a facet of her. It's really complicated. At the same time, it's really interesting.
Is there a process of review or accountability after death?
Not in the spirit world, mate. No. What there is, depending on your consciousness, depending on what you have achieved or what you have literally done negatively in the human world. If you have been a really bad person, and I mean really bad, evil, you will end up in the lowest part of the astral world, and you will have no consciousness whatsoever. In fact, you won't even have much thinking level. it's like you'd be living in a sludge of dirty energy. As you start to advance in a minor way, you can step up in a very slight vibration. Eventually, could be 2,000 years of physical time, you can end up at the first stage of the spirit world. And then another 500 years, you might get up to a part where you can have the understanding that you're going to go through the light by letting go of all your negativity. You have to recognize your karmic debts. You have to come to balance with them and let them go. Forgive and ask for forgiveness and feel it from your own essence, which is still your heart. And then create the tunnel of light and go through it so you can rest unbiased to all negativity and all positivity. You are totally unbiased in that vibration. And you meet families from the past, all of them, and from the long gone past who haven't yet incarnated. And you can be really happy, really friendly, live in a house, live in life, and just be friendly. And then one day it'll hit you. Your soul has said, it's time for you now to incarnate. And you choose your life and you incarnate. Normally into a similar family line, so you learn the lessons and let go of everything as you grow consciously. So you don't take all that negativity into the lower ends of the astral world and go through the same process of stupidity.
So what a lot of people are kind of expecting with heaven is really what happens way after, when you end up going through the light, and then you have it all. And once you've gone through the light, you've got complete peace and joy and whatever else you want. Then.
Absolutely. That's the easiest way to answer that, by saying absolutely, Michael.
Sure.
Once you go through the light, you do not take what you created in that lifetime through that light. It's dissolved within the vibrations as you step up. So you go through there and everything's fine. But I will say this, which probably no one knows about it. I've never heard anyone mention it. When you go through the light, you still have your cellular memory, unbiased, completely, right? When you decide to incarnate, that cellular memory goes with you, and you go into a human body, and the characteristics, and through your father's sperm, your mother's blood, you are born, and all those characteristics come over with you. The learning is all about not reacting in a negative way to whatever you're feeling or the feelings of your emotions. So you don't carry those emotions from your parents' genetics throughout your life. You become an individual, not attached to negativity or positivity from your parents' genetics. You are a single vessel as an individual. You don't have to bring up what's within your cellular memory. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly. No one on this earth has ever stated that.
Wow.
And it's the truth. From my heart, 100%.
So you don't react to what's popping up inside of you.
No, absolutely not.
Which will create more.
Yep. And what causes the release of negative emotions as you start to grow up is your parents' genetics. And that's when you become a clone of your parents. And you live a life in similarity to their emotions. And that's the problem. We're not taught to understand that.
So we don't act on our negative emotions. Is it almost that simple? Things that come
Absolutely.
to us, yeah.
We just say, no, I will not react to that. I don't believe that's mine because I haven't lived that. So that experience, it's got to be somebody else's, and it's got to be my parents.
Yeah, and the more you do that, the less power it has on you.
Yeah. We have to learn to understand that the blood within our mother has every emotion within that cellular structure, and it's flowing through our blood for 9 months. The father's sperm has all his characteristics, and it's flowing also in mine now. And that's what I'm feeling. That's what I'm experiencing. And that's not me. I'm an individual. And that's why so many kids today rebel at a certain age. That's rebellion against their parents' genetics. And they don't even know it. If we could learn to understand that, we would not be living lifetime after lifetime after lifetime in such a negative way. We will be creating positivity, not negativity.
How does love influence the transition beyond physical life?
Okay. If you, as a human, I can't say a human being because percentage-wise, there are more carnivores on this planet than vegetarians. And a carnivore is not a human being. A carnivore is a human animal. It's as simple as that, or a human carnivore. It totally retards us from conscious evolution. Until we recognize that, nothing will change. But if we learn to understand that our heart chakra is the center of our totality when it comes to understanding unconditional love. And unconditional love, once we recognize it and we start to feel it, live it, taste it, we become balanced in every way. And that's a very important factor towards life. We have to feel the love that is within us. And that love will then flow into the spirit of who we are. And that love will stay within the spirit, and the spirit will be of love. It won't be negative within the spirit world. And it will go through the light much faster. And that's very important.
Well, I think that exactly answers my next question, which is, what inner work best prepares a person for death without fear? It's the love, isn't it?
Yes, mate, it's the love. Yeah, I won't go yet. It's the love. Unconditional love will heal everything. Once you feel that you want to know what love is, all you have to do is lie in bed or look into a mirror and just look at yourself without judgment, negative or positive. Put aside your ego, because the last thing you want to say to yourself, oh, look how good I am. I'm so beautiful. That's the ego talking. You can say it to yourself from a heart love, but not many do. It's all ego. If you say that and say these words, I can feel my love growing. I can feel my love growing because I am love. That is what I am. I am pure living energy, which is totally unconditional love. I have been misled in my life through my own negative created emotions. And I don't accept that anymore because I am love. When you start to really feel it, live it, taste it, when you take your last breath and you go into the spirit world, that's exactly what you are. And you'll go through the light, as I just said before, much quicker. In fact, very quick.
Brilliant. This concludes another episode of Kuntarkis. If you'd like to find out more about Kuntarkis, find his website, which is etcconsciousness.com. He has articles there, he has his books listed there, and also if you have any reason to contact us in general for any reason, just email kuntarkis@gmail.com. That's it for now. Thanks so much for listening. My name is Michael Yon. and stay tuned for more.